Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, and a shout out to our online community. I'm so glad you're here with us today. This morning, we are in week 4 of our study of this book, Birthing a Greater Reality, by Unity minister and author Robert Brummett. Last week, we came face to face with our mistaken identity, and I pushed a lot of buttons, and I'm just so grateful because it created for a lot of juicy dialogue to be happening around the ministry this week. Our erroneous answer to the question, "Who am I?" has triggered the dialogue of, am I a child of God or not? And the answer is both yes and no. So as we awaken and evolve beyond the consciousness of children of God into partners and co-creators with the divine, as we expand into this new level of consciousness, never again claim for yourself that you are only a child of God. It's not working. Thank you. I love technology. So the more that you are in an awareness of what the word child represents, the more we use the word child, we get the image of a helpless, defenseless being who needs the care and guidance and wisdom of some other older, wiser, and greater being for its very survival. When we use the words that allowed ourselves to consider if we are only a child of God or oh so much more. There were individuals here who I was blessed to have dialogue with because they were stuck in a place of confusion about whether or not they were a child of God and whether or not they could be more. And it's exactly where you're supposed to be. There was wrestling with the internal limiting beliefs that have been solidified in your mind. You are more than what the decisions of your past limit you to. Another interesting thought about that is that being a child of God is in the very core of the DNA of the Unity movement. Myrtle Fillmore, 150 years ago, heard the statement, "You are a child of God and therefore do not inherit illness." It was the affirmation she used for 2 to 3 years to heal herself of tuberculosis, a life sentence at that time in our medical history. And so to tell someone, oh no, don't claim that you're a child of God, oh my goodness gracious. It's blasphemy. I loved it. Because in that 150-year time span, the usage of our language and who we believe ourselves to be and understand through quantum physics has evolved. And so we must evolve our understanding of ourself. In addition, our way-shower, Jesus, related to God in three different ways. The infinite expression of God, the inner relationship with God, and the intimate relationship with God. Jesus, our wayshower, showed that our relationship with the divine will ebb and flow through these three ways of being all the time. It is not only one. Ours is to follow the teachings of Jesus. And he showed within his experience, he was constantly moving through the three stages. It was never stagnant for him. It was a continual flow of love, acceptance, devotion, and oneness. And so it's really a good thing to be pushed to question your beliefs and to see if you have claimed for yourself a limiting belief that no longer serves your understanding of yourself. It may not feel good. I'm sure it didn't. I didn't get that impression from anyone I talked to whose buttons I pushed. However, it made them inquire within the depths of their mind and heart and soul. And that is what it is to awaken and expand and explore your innate divinity. Now, as partners and co-creators with the divine, to avoid that discomfort of the inquiry is to avoid our growth. It is to avoid our personal healing, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. We must be brave enough to move through the question. Robert Brummett states that no matter what our past choices have been, we get to make a new one right now. To heal is to embrace the illusions of the past. To heal is to embrace the illusions of the past. And we have held on to these thought-feeling patterns for a very long time. It should be uncomfortable. All change makes it uncomfortable. But if these old thought-feeling patterns are to be released, they must go out the same way they came in, through awareness. As these patterns were formed, we believe that they reflected the truth of reality. So as they come out to be healed, we may be seduced into thinking it's reflecting reality. Don't fall for it. It's a trick. Don't allow yourself to be sucked into the decisions that you made as a 3, 5, 10, and 15-year-old. You are oh so much wiser and experienced and aware. So the power alone of our intention to heal will help us focus on the internal truth. And our spiritual support system here with one another will guide us and help us move through those times of questioning. Your individual family, those closest to you, not on the path, may say, oh, no. Don't evolve, don't change, because if you change your limiting belief, your new awareness is going to ripple my boat. Don't shake up the boat. What is that saying? Don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. So Make sure you talk to someone who can support you in a time of questioning, who can support you in affirming the principles, who can explore with you the evolution of the human consciousness here and now. Turn to one another. Come, talk to me. Go see a counselor. Whatever it takes. Our job is to reclaim the part of us we call the shadow. Brummett says our evolutionary task is to reclaim our essential nature, and our work is to integrate the shadow into conscious awareness. Robert Johnson, author in Jungian analysis, said, unless we do conscious work on it, the shadow is almost always projected. That is, it is neatly laid on someone or something else so that we do not have to take responsibility for it. Oh, busted, big time. I've done it, you've done it. We're all saying, oh, that one over there. But no, darn. We all have a shadow. It is the parts of ourself that we hide from the world. And once we become willing to take responsibility for our shadow self, it loses its scary, spooky power. The shadow, in reality, is our essential nature in disguise. It is disguised because we have rejected it. We refuse to see what it really is, and we see it in our mind and heart as how we originally saw it, with fear, with shame. We did not start that way. We learned to reject that part of ourself because someone else judged it uncomfortable for them. We shared our truth of the moment. Maybe not with a little grace, but it was shared nonetheless. And someone else said, oh, no, that's not nice, that's not kind. And so there is a weaving together of emotional and mental maturity in order to embrace our shadow self. We disguised it because we rejected it. Fear, shame, judgment, ours and everybody else's. And so here's the disguise. Do you remember that silly kid song? I'm going to ask you to join in. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, his name is my name too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, there goes John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Da-na-na-na-na-na. Okay, so John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt is the name that we all collectively gave our disguised essential self. We've been singing about it for over 100 years, thanks to the Swedes. They were so clever. It is the outer personality that we created to cover up when we thought we were being judged by someone else, when we judged ourselves. However, the true reality of ourself is this. Sing along. God, Spirit, universal life, that name is my name too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, there goes God, Spirit, universal life. Na, 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 na. Again, up. God, Spirit, universal life. That name is my name too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, there goes John, Jake. La, 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 la. John, Spirit, universal life. That name is my name too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, there goes God, Spirit, universal life. Na, 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 na. Okay. Thank you. You guys are so good at playing along. I love it. So our ego identity, let's call him John Jacob, is a product of the mind. Brummett says that the cause of human suffering lies in the mistaken belief that our separated personal self is our true self and that it is real. John Jacob is not real. It's a silly song that people made up and we all agreed with it. Do you see how our culture creates ways for us to keep the myth and the lie alive? So knowing this, it's a miracle that anyone has awakened at all, in my opinion. It is certainly no picnic to love yourself enough to balance your ego with your God. They must share the limelight and embrace one another. They are both aspects of the essential self. It is certainly no picnic to look at the parts of ourself that we have disowned, that we have hidden from ourselves and from everyone else, because if we showed the truth, you wouldn't be lovable. Ouch. If you were your true self, someone would judge you unlovable. And that is worse than death. None of us want that. We want to be loved. We want to belong. We want to be included. Our essence is so pure and full of life. It scared us and everybody around us. And so we disguised it. It is not until we learn to accept and love ourselves, regardless of our faults and failures and less than ideas that we hold about ourselves, not until we accept and love can we heal as individuals, as a community, as a nation, as a species. Each and every individual must love and embrace their wholeness. So the shadow can be your friend. It can awaken in you a greater sense of love and compassion for yourself and for everyone else in your circle of influence. Recognize that the shadow symptom of judgment is actually just a defensive posture that we have embraced. It protects us from coming into direct interaction with those parts of ourselves that we have disowned. So this judgment reflects the attitude that we are secretly holding towards our repressed sadness from being judged unlovable at some time, multiple times in our lives. We have sadness about that. Anyone who's an empath on the planet can feel the collective sadness of the world. The attitude that we hold towards another person is a reflection of the attitude that we are holding towards this part of ourself we feel we must hide. Robert Brummett says, "Why would we be ashamed or afraid of these parts of ourselves?" And he says, the answer is, we were taught to do so. So this has been our generational dysfunction, squashing the light of our children. It must stop. We must embrace our own light and embrace the light of one another. And knowing that whatever we have learned from our family, our teachers, our religion of origin, our communities, we can unlearn. We are wise beings. Homo sapiens sapiens. We talked about that, chapter 1 and 2. Our evolution drives us forward to unlearn and release that which is a lie, a myth, and no longer serves. So this is the biggest part of our spiritual journey, is awakening to the shadow and learning to love and accept ourselves as we truly are, to fully embrace both the shadow and the divine essence. It may take an entire lifetime, but who cares? What else are you going to do? So let me leave you with this thought from Deepak Chopra. Every time you are tempted to react in the same old way, ask if you want to be a prisoner of the past or a pioneer of the future. Join me on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. for Wednesday Explorations, where we dive deeper into the chapters of this book. It's wonderful dialogue, and if I have triggered you in any way, I am so looking forward to having that conversation with you. Enjoy the journey. Namaste.